The force is active with Sigberg Audio Saranna Towers. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Della Sala with Audioholics. We've got Mr. Sigberg himself and James Larson in the house to discuss these new active speakers. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Thanks.
So I don't want to butcher your name. How do you actually say your first name?
Thorbjørn.
Twitterburn. Okay, that's a difficult one. That's
close enough.
It's close enough. All right, so I wanted to have you guys on. I wanted James Larson to be on here as well because he's reviewed some of your products before.
Yeah.
This is a very unique product. You guys are based out of Norway. You do things a little differently. You do things very custom with your speakers. In this particular case, this tower speaker that's behind you is fully active, fully DSP controlled, but it's also got a very unique bass loading system that I want you to talk about. So why don't you give us a little overview on this tower, what it's all about, and then James, I wanted you to interject based on your past experiences with his other products as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and feel free to chime in, James.
Okay.
So yeah, Sigberg Audio Saranna, relatively large towers. The first sort of floor standard we've been doing. We have a couple of monitors from before, some small ones that the SPS that James reviewed, and we have the Mantas behind me that are relatively large to be a monitor. But these guys are active, powered by Hypex, 600 watts per speaker. And there's an almost full tone coaxial driver in the front with the compression driver. And then there's two 8-inch bass drivers in the back, actually, to sort of load against the back wall. They're designed to be quite close to the back wall as well. But given that they're active, you can also easily sort of adjust the bass level so that you can move it closer to you or close to the wall if you want to do that. And then you also have these guys that we also have on our Manta speaker. That's the cardioid ports that adjust the dispersion of the speaker and reduces the sound to the sidewalls and to the rear. So you, from 130 hertz approximately, you get around 10 dB attenuation towards from around 120 degrees and all the way on the back. So that makes it, yeah, the sound is pretty unique, and you get a lot less acoustical problems with from the room.
So you're saying basically you can potentially get better room integration by having a cardioid loading of the bass?
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. And now just to be clear, you said that this is an active speaker. It's got Hypex, 600 watts a channel. That's a tri-amplified system. So you've got a amp going to the bass drivers, an amp going to the mid, and an amp going to the tweeter.
Yep.
And then it's fully active, so there's no passive crossover. So all the filtering is done within the digital DSP from Hypex.
Yeah, so there's the digital crossovers. We have a somewhat unique approach there as well. We a lot of active speakers have like really, I would call it like hard crossovers and hard correction. So they measure really flat. But sometimes that doesn't sound like that natural. Get like ringing effects and stuff like that. So we have basically first order filters, but they're sort of parabolic, so they steepen and they go further down. So you protect the drivers, but you still get a linear filter that is sort of linear phase across the driver, so you get a really natural sound.
So where the drivers integrate their first order responses, but then they taper off more drastically after the band.
Yeah, but late enough that you still get linear phase.
I got you. Okay.
You know, that's a really good idea, because like really steep filters, there's high delay with really steep filters. Like if you had a fourth order filter, especially with an active system, you would have like the group delay would be substantial. You know, I don't know how audible that'd be, but like by using the first order filters to blend the drivers, and then a parabolic, a more steeper filter to protect the drivers, that should make very good time domain performance.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so I guess what I wanted to ask you is, what kind of output do you get out of this speaker? It's a 600 watts. Is it meant for small or medium-sized rooms? Give us the application for it, and how do you connect it? Is it, since it's a fully active speaker, do you have digital and analog inputs on it? Maybe give us a little rundown on both those topics.
Yeah. So to start with the last, you got traditional analog inputs, both RCA and XLR balanced, which I would recommend. But you also got the digital, so both optical and coaxial. Output-wise, I would say medium to large rooms. It's quite powerful, and it's sort of high sensitivity drivers, and the 8-inch bass drivers also are like more powerful than it might seem with an 8-inch driver, but they got like almost 12 millimeter linear stroke, so they're quite powerful. We haven't done like official SPL measurements yet, but I'm guessing something like around 115, 116 dB at 1 meter per speaker. So you'll get around that from 2 to 3 meters in the room. So quite loud.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have some drivers you want to show us too? Exactly. Give us a rundown of that.
Yes. We could start with the bass driver maybe. Oh. So it's this guy. Relatively heavy. It's about 9 pounds, which is quite hefty for an 8-inch driver.
Yeah.
So 2-inch voice coil. As I said, linear stroke of 12 millimeters one way.
So a big motor on that thing.
Yeah.
Really hefty thing.
Is that SB Acoustics or what? Do you know the?
It's a wave core actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you have 2 of those now in each.
Yes, 2 in there, and it's also ported bass chamber, so you got extra output down low, ported pretty, tuned pretty low, 28 hertz. So it's flat to 20 hertz in room, or even more, depending on the room gain you get.
Right.
And the coaxial driver, also pretty hefty and interesting motor. 2.5-inch voice coil, almost 97 dB sensitivity, so it's really loud.
Yeah.
But still very smooth. It's you probably can see it there, but it's a radial plug in here, so that smoothens out sort of the response and removes resonances here as well. So it's sort of almost like a PA driver, but it's really smooth. So it sounds great.
Those little those are neodymium magnets, like on the outer edges of the motor, right? That's gotta be really powerful magnetically.
Yeah, and looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look cool, but yeah, those are really big neodymium magnets, so that makes that thing really powerful. I mean, I've seen bass drivers use similar, like a circle of neodymiums, but they're tend to be spaced out more, so like that's not as big as that, right? So that has to make that, I don't know that driver exactly, but that's got to be a really powerful driver for that reason.
Yeah, so it's definitely,
that explains the high sensitivity on it too, right? Just having that much motor force and the ability to play loud.
And also like all our other mid-range and mid-bass drivers, they're really, the cone is really lightweight, so you get a high sensitivity from that as well.
Now, is that the same driver you use in your other stand mount speakers, or is this?
Yeah, no, we actually had a smaller one on the one behind me. It's a 5.5-inch, but that's crossed at 600 hertz, while this plays down to 140, 50 thereabouts.
Right.
So it needs to be a bit bigger.
That's like a dome. Isn't that like a 3/4-inch dome tweeter on the regular? That's SBS one, if I remember correctly. It was a 3/4-inch dome on a 5 1/4 woofer, just like the Mantas use the same driver.
Yeah, but it's bigger than that, isn't it?
Is it or is it a 1-inch or 1.5?
1-inch silk dome, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, it's been a while since I had those speakers, but
it's really 1 inch.
Those are very powerful. That was a very powerful coaxial driver, especially considering it wasn't a compression driver, but this on the Sarannas, that's a full-blown compression driver. So like that's gonna be way more powerful.
So the 1-inch from the other driver is really loud as well, but this is even more extreme. But more extreme than you'd use in a sort of domestic setting, I guess. But it's sort of one of many ideas we do a bit differently, because we want. I really like, these are from Sika. This is Italian. I live like 20 minutes from Seas, who make really good drivers and really good coaxial drivers as well. But I was still really struck by these drivers because they have sort of the PA history, do professional drivers, and they're just really powerful, really high sensitivity, but still sounds really, really good as well. And that you don't have to play loud. It's just that removes any hint of compression and distortion at moderate levels as well, right? So it sounds much better at normal levels as well.
Well, another advantage of that sort of configuration is you get directivity control down to a much lower frequency that helps you match the cardioid, your cancellation system. That's gotta take your directivity control down to what you said, 130 hertz. Is that correct?
Yeah. So already, even at 100 hertz, you get like a 5 dB attenuation rare words, but from 130 it's like 10 dB.
That's like really good. That's like, so like, I guess what that would mean is like, so people who don't have a lot of acoustic control over the room don't, they don't have to worry about that with these speakers because not a lot of sound is shooting out to the sides. It's just shooting out in the front of the speaker for the most part until lower bass. So like, if you want if for any kind of acoustically compromised situation, or if even an acoustically ideal situation, these are a great choice, it would seem.
Yeah, so this room I'm in now, this is a really good damped room. So even there, these sound better, right? But I also have a living room that's like a normal, quite reflective space. And most normal speakers you don't really get much of a sound stage in that room with normal speakers. But with these, suddenly you get that even in a quite reflective space. So that's quite interesting.
So this kind of design just gives you more predictability in a wider range of rooms, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also see that if you sort of measure in the listening position, you see more similarity from room to room in quite different rooms on these speakers than you'd normally see. You sort of recognize the response and the slope and everything.
Now, if I want to deal with room modes below 100 hertz or so, you have a 9-band parametric EQ built in?
Yes. So you can, as I said, you can, with a sort of just a press of a button, you can change the slope in the bottom. So even that helps you quite a bit. But in addition, you have a 9-band EQ on each speaker that you can configure individually, and not just in the bass, in the entire range if you want. I wouldn't recommend doing that in the higher frequencies, but you also have tilt filters. So
perfect.
If you have a reflective room, you could tilt down the treble a bit, things like that.
Yeah, and that's what I prefer. With all the room correction systems on the market, I've always found that you let the room correction stuff do its thing around up until about the room transition frequency, 500 hertz or so. But above that, you use shelving filters. If you want more treble or you want less treble, you put a very gentle shelving filter. And I find that to be way more effective, especially when you have a linear speaker to work with. Yeah.
So just a comment in the chat about the smaller listening area, smaller sweet spot. Actually, you don't get that because it's about 50-60 degrees where it's very, very even response, and that's quite wide when you think about it. So anywhere in front of the speaker, you get a very uniform sort of that dispersion. So the sweet spot isn't smaller than a normal speaker at all.
Gotcha. Now, when are these starting to ship? Because I know this is a new model. You just announced it, and in fact, you have a U.S. dealer that you want to announce as well, right?
Yeah, so that's super new. It was signed basically this week, but partnering with Dreamscapes AV, audio and video, I assume. So they're quite interesting for us because they're partnering with other sort of similar brands that focus on like the science part of it and focus on acoustics. They do installation, things like that. So we'll partner with them for sales and for showrooms. So they will have in New York and the New England area and in Florida and eventually in Los Angeles as well. So I realize the US is a large place, but that gives us a quite good starting distribution. And maybe the most important part is that they will also do service and support and warranty stuff, both for things they sell and also what we sell directly. So you can, if anything should happen, you can fix that domestically now in the US.
Gotcha. Are you planning on demoing these speakers at any audio shows?
So that's another thing I hope maybe Dreamscapes will help us with. I would like to go as well, but to start with, maybe they will help us out too. So they have locations in Florida, right? I know there's big shows there, so I hope they will be able to help present us there.
Yeah, Florida Audio Expo every year. That would be
Yeah.
a good show for you guys to attend for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
is the product shipping now? Like if someone wants to order it now, or is there a lead time on that?
Yeah, so we're accepting pre-orders now with a 10% discount actually until end of April. So from May 1st, we will stop sales for a while until we actually have things in stock and have processed the pre-orders. And then we will open up again with sort of on the regular price. So that hopefully that will be late June, but maybe not until August. So that's the rough timeline.
Hey Gene, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. So right now the pre-order price is $23,100 a pair, right?
Yeah, depending on the exchange, I think that's about right. Yes.
That's pre or post tariff. I guess the tariff is going to make potentially go up 10%.
Yeah, but currently that price includes everything. So that's shipping to the US, all the import taxes, sales tax, tariffs, whatever. But depending on what happens with the tariff, we can't guarantee that that might be moved on to the customer eventually, but hopefully not. We're outside of the EU as well. We're in Norway, so I think we have hopes of not getting maybe hit as hard as the EU will. So I think hopefully not.
You know, one thing that I think is really cool is speaker, that Cardioid base loading system. I mean, we've seen that on PA systems before, and we've seen that on home audio. You don't really see that too much. I saw it in the Dutch HD. Yeah, really cool speaker, but pretty limited in dynamic range. So this uses that same kind of technology, but with way. I mean, obviously it had way more dynamic range. So it's cool to see that technology employed in a way that has almost unlimited dynamic range. I can't see anyone ever reaching the limits of these speakers, you know, even in a large room. Like an 8-inch mid-range high sensitivity 8-inch mid-range driver with a compression driver, that's big time dynamics. And I did the write-up for the preview, and like I said on the preview, you really need high sensitivity drivers like that need low noise amplifiers, or else the noise floor gets really amplified. So it's a good thing you went with Hypex, because otherwise, I mean, that's like the Hypex Encores are famous for their noise and distortion performance. Like you kind of need that with these type of drivers you're using. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the compression horn is actually 101 dB sensitive, so it's like crazy sensitive. So we actually tested during testing. We had some passive components to attenuate the tweeter a bit, but ended up not really needing that because, as you said, the Hypex is so quiet.
Yeah, I just want to show people in case they can't see the speakers up close.
Yeah,
this is what they look like. I like the tilt on them. Is that a time alignment thing, or is that an aesthetic thing?
Sort of aesthetic, but it's also because most coaxials, they are even more linear if it just gets that slightly off axis. So we do this with all our speakers, actually tilting them, because that helps you get it's just a 4-degree tilt. It looks more than it is, and that's enough to get them much more linear response, directly on the listening axis.
The SBS ones that I had the same kind of thing. They had a little bit better of a performance, slightly off axis than directly on axis.
Yeah,
it's and that's most people would probably be listening that way anyway. Instead of just
we also recommend not that much toe-in, so you're basically listening at somewhere between 15 to 30, and then you get a really linear response on the reference axis.
So they're a moderately sized speaker. They're 43.3 inches high, 13.5 inches deep, 11 inches wide, and they weigh about 97 pounds each. So, James, that's right in your alley for taking speakers and putting them on your platter and measuring them outside.
90, yeah, geez.
You're right there.
That's, I don't know, man. 90s, that's nearly 100 pounds, man. That's kind of a lot to climb up with a ladder. Ugh. Well, my lower back's just starts hurting just thinking about it. I don't want to. No, I'd love to have. Yeah, I'd love to hear them in person. Hopefully, I will get a chance to someday. I mean, now
that we get great. US distribution, it will be easier probably. But yeah, so the dynamics are sort of our thing, I guess. Again, with the Mantas as well behind there, that's like a speaker system with subwoofers, right? So that's even more extreme than the Sarannas, actually. But But it's a bit more complicated to sell our system with subs like the SBS as well. So we wanted to try something that's standalone. So
Well, for people that can't, that don't have the budget for $23,000 for a full size speaker and they want something more compact, James did do a review. James, I can't believe it's been 3 years since you did this.
Yeah,
SBS
almost
1?
3 years.
Holy cow!
Yeah, that's
Wow.
they are really small, but they play really, really, really loud as well. So
yeah, those
which
are
again
killer
translates
speakers.
to-
I think we gave them this speaker of the year, or product of the year award. Those are
Yeah.
really good speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fantastic. I wish and like what was unusual about them is like a lot of like stand mount speakers try to do some bass. Oh, there's kind of the interface. I imagine these use also high hex amps, so like you'd see a similar kind of interface with the Sarannas, I'd imagine. But
Yeah,
like what's really cool about the SBS is that it just focused on like non-subwoofer frequencies. So a lot of stand mount speakers, they try to do some bass too. I guess in those cases where you know, that people just don't want to use a subwoofer. But the SBS ones just forget deep bass. We'll just focus on like above subwoofer band like frequencies. And by doing that, it allows them to have so much more dynamic range than you would if, you know, if you had to even worry about just digging down to even 60 hertz or something like that. Like 50, 40 hertz is what a lot of stand mounts try to aim for. And by eschewing that, they have a lot of punch. But like, since subwoofers are so plentiful and so like it's so easy to get like a halfway decent subwoofer. I don't know why more companies just don't do that. They take that kind of strategy like Sigberg has, you know.
Makes
so,
easier setup as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and again in that configuration, that the SBS have a sensitivity that would translate to something like 95, 96 dB maybe, and that's like 10 dB more than any normal bookshelf speaker. So that sort of explains
and in this case, James reviewed that bookshelf along with your subwoofer. You have the 10D subwoofer, which he found to be a very good performer for the size.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best small subwoofers out there. Like you can just period, you know, really good drivers, really good amp, just nice in every way. I mean, it's not a super cheap sub, but it's a really good one. So, you know, I mean anybody who like, you know, really punchy, you can see that, you know, people can see that for themselves by just reading the review. It's just a really excellent little subwoofer.
Yeah, and European built and European drivers, so that's explains some of the price and really premium components. But so in these sort of political times, I'm happy I'm not using China right now. So
yeah, I mean, even so, I mean, I have some in-house Chinese made subwoofers. They're really good. There's also small like yours, pretty good performers, but they're not that much less expensive. So like,
right.
I mean, it's still competitive. Like, you know, European built, China built. If you want good manufacturing, it's gonna be expensive no matter where you go, even in China.
Yeah. Someone just sent me a super chat. Thank you, the madness. Say, Gene, curl those speakers for a warm up. Okay, I might drop it, and Mr. Sigberg won't be very happy, but I'm up for the challenge.
Maybe just do the drivers, those 8s. That'll be a pretty good start.
Oh yeah, that'll
reps
be
with those, you know.
Yeah.
Also, maybe talk a little bit about the finish. It's sort of the finish. That's what you call it, right? It's hard to see here, but it's actually black wood veneer on the sides, and then it's painted on the top and the baffle and the back. And we also have a similar one in almost white. It's sort of off-white, and then the wood veneer on the sides will be like very light gray. So both versions sort of play on monochromes rather than different colors, but you see it's very interesting shifts in the surfaces. So it looks really good.
Okay, and there's no grow cover for the front driver, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. So,
oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a magnet grill that sort of just snaps on.
Oh, those are pretty strong magnets. I just heard that lock in.
Yeah, it's pretty. They don't fall off.
Someone's asking, can you do them in Ferrari red? Can you do custom colors?
Yes, we can.
All right, there you go, Harold.
Nice.
I expect you to be contacting them for your special order now.
Those are like pretty sweet and like different colors. Everybody wants like white or black speakers. mostly black. I noticed white is making a comeback, right? But even so, everyone just either wants black or like a wood, like a natural wood kind of veneer.
I would love these in red. I think
I would love them
yeah.
in red or blue or a primary color, anything but like the normal wood or like black speakers, right? That's like, well, white would be my choice by far easily. But I mean, a contest, if I could get a pair of these, it'd be white. But like, I wish more speakers would just come in like. I get why they don't.
Yeah.
I get why they don't.
Especially for us, this is like we're a small manufacturer, so the logistics of offering like a lot of different colors from the factory isn't so easy, but we can certainly do custom.
Yeah, I get it, but like, and I know people don't really buy anything other than wood and black, but like, it's just so I don't know, monotonous, just like every speaker is like the same. Like, I love it like a blue or red speaker, or something like that, like a vivid color for some time. But that's subject for another video. That's
at least.
Let me ask you this now. I have a home theater related question for you.
Yeah.
So I understand this is primarily an audiophile kind of speaker, but with more spatial audio becoming more popular and the de facto standard kind of in music, you've got a stand mount speaker. People can use the surrounds. You don't have a dedicated center channel. Are you planning on doing a dedicated center, or would they just use one of your stand mounts as a center channel?
Yeah, at least for now, it's sort of on the drawing board, but it's hard to sort of. Again, we're a small manufacturer, so we sort of have the hi-fi market and the home theater market, at least in Europe, is sort of a different crowd. So we have to sort of choose there. And music is my own passion as well, so it sort of shows that as the way we market it, at least. But obviously, these are very dynamic speakers, everything in our range, so it would work very well in that type of setup as well. And we also have customers with a huge twin of system who uses our speakers and subs and everything. So
very cool.
It wouldn't be I don't think it'd be a super big leap to make like to get a center channel out of that coaxial driver. Or maybe you have or to turn that.
We have versions of the SBS, right, with dual mid woofers on the coax in the middle on the drawing board. So something like that would definitely be an option.
Yeah, then you could just buy a processor, skip the amp. You have all the amps built into your speakers. So,
or maybe throw this 8-inch thing in the larger center would be quite killer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be killer. I mean, it's like designing a home theater around those speakers that'd be substantial. I mean, even for it could probably handle a very large theater room if you had one. So like, I'd love to see something like that. But I'm like a 2-channel guy myself, though, so I'm not as, it's a good idea for me. I just a pair of a speaker like that would be just fine. I don't really need center channels or even surrounds. I'm like a 2-channel guy, so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, it's a bit sort of marketing strategy as well. We also sell a bit to studios, so we have the hi-fi audience at home and studios. And if you are to go after like home cinema as well, it have to be later at least, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I will put links in the video description below, not only to your website, but to Dreamscapes AV, so people can reach out and hopefully get demos of your products and start creating some chatter about it. Because look, there's a lot of great speakers coming out of Norway these days. And I'm glad that you're one of the 3 or 4 brands that we're aware of. And it's good to see these alternatives. It's good to see these different options. And I love active speakers. I just think there's so many advantages to doing a fully active design like you're doing. And then throwing a cardioid kind of base loading on it is just icing on the cake.
Yep.
It's forward thinking. So yes, it's not cheap, but you're getting a lot of tech. You're getting very high quality drivers. You're getting DSP control. It's kind of the future, guys. I mean, I've been talking about this for a while. James, you and I have had this discussion about the advantages of active speakers. So I just fully embrace and support companies that are doing this with their products.
Yeah, it's like, so like the Sarannas are basically an entire system in one. It's like, yeah, they're not cheap, but like, you don't need to buy amps. You don't really need to buy a DSP type processor. You just need all you really need is you want a processor just for easy like volume control and a few other things, but like all you really need is a source. You could probably get away with just having a source like a streamer just attach a streamer to one of these things, and like you're good to go, or whatever, right? Your source.
In my setup here, I got are you familiar with the Ever Solo stuff?
Yeah, very
so
good, very good.
The DMP A6 Master Edition or something. It's like $1,000 or something. That's the entire setup. That's the speaker.
It's just speakers, so you don't need a rack to hold a whole bunch of stuff. All you need is those speakers and you know, a streamer or whatever, like you said, a source, and like you're good. You're all set. And so like that makes these like pretty good value proposition considering their capabilities, you know, and then considering the fact that it can handle pretty much any kind of room because of how the acoustic behavior. It's like there's a lot to like about these.
And then any kind of music as well. That's another sort of philosophy I have, that I spend a lot of time tuning these guys to make them work across a lot of music. I find a lot of active speakers, unfortunately, create sort of a bad rep for those because they're a bit on the cold and flat side. So we work hard to make these guys truly neutral, which means they're actually full-bodied and it sounds good on rock and your old favorites, everything. So yeah.
I mean, you could be a headbanger with these things. These are like high fidelity headbanger speakers. You know, I know a lot of metal comes out of Norway, right? Like this is like a high-end headbanger speaker. That's pretty cool too. I'm sure could do everything else too. Like it's not like that should be able to would be like blind to content in a sense, right? It would have everything echo-anonymously. So like those would be killer. I mean sometimes I like music that a little bit more, you know, not just like smooth jazz, right? Sometimes I like something a little bit more spicy, right? And those look like they would be killer speakers for that.
So you could play anything from Opeth to Pat Metheny.
Yes, absolutely. And I also find people usually used to passive speakers, right? So you naturally sort of compare the price to other passive speakers. You know, it's hard to sort of make that leap and actually think about the fact that you got a really high quality 600 watt amp in each speaker as well. So yeah, and subjectively, of course, but people who listen to them, they're like, okay, they're still expensive, but I understand why, because it's sort of the soundstage
and there's something about directly coupling a driver to an amplifier without crossovers. You have less losses. It's more efficient. The power delivery is more efficient to the speaker. So that 600 watts goes a long way just because of the method of its connectivity to the drivers.
Also, you wouldn't have the kind of control of the crossovers that you do in a passive speaker. To get really tight control over the drivers with the passive system, you need a lot of components, right? So like, and also that's more chances for losses, more chances for group delay. And so like, but with this, you get really nice driver blending and good time domain performance. And like, and also no losses like you'd have with passive components. So like, you know, in a sense, you know, like active is the future, or at least it should be.
And on top of that, at least in this design, there are again very high sensitivity drivers as well. So everything is very efficient. And on the time domain point, so they're ported, and we have a high pass filter in the bottom to protect the drivers, but it's not until like 10 hertz, so you get really low group delay in the deep bass as well.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you dropping the knowledge on this, and James, thanks for coming on here to talk about it and share your experiences with the other Sigberg products. And we're planning a review sometime late summer on these, so we'll follow up and hopefully we'll have some measurements and we'll have some listening tests. And I'm looking forward to eventually hearing these as well, especially if there's some representation in Florida on that. So, but guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audiohawks. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.